1,000 years and the Maya temples still stand in silence, but only if you listen with your ears, because once you listen with physics, with frequency, and with intent, something else emerges, a secret, a signature, a message left in stone that we were never meant to ignore. This is the story of ancient architecture that behaves like technology. Temples that answer back when you speak, and sounds that shouldn't exist, but do. Welcome to the lost sound weapons of the Maya. Stand at the base of El Castillo in Chichen Itza, the massive pyramid everyone recognizes from travel photos and textbooks. Clap your hands once, just once, and something impossible happens. The pyramid chirps back at you. Not an echo, not a reflection, a literal bird call. A sharp, piercing chirp that rises above the courtyard with perfect clarity. The very sound of a sacred Quetzal bird, an animal revered by the Maya as a messenger of the gods. This is not speculation. This is not legend. This is a measurable, recorded, repeatable phenomenon. Acousticians have measured it, physicists have modeled it, tourists hear it every day. Yet no one can explain how a civilization building with stone tools engineered a structure that produces a sound identical to a specific bird. A bird the Maya worshipped, a bird that symbolized a bridge between heaven and earth. If this were the only acoustic anomaly in the Maya world, it could be dismissed as a coincidence, a quirk, a lucky accident of geometry. But it isn't, because the deeper you go into Maya territory, the more you find acoustic effects that are not just unusual, they are intentional, repeating, predictable, and intelligent. In the ruins of Palenque, a whisper spoken at one end of the palace can be heard perfectly clear at the other end, even through stone walls and corridors that should scatter the sound. At Uxmal, the governor's palace amplifies human speech so strongly that a voice can travel hundreds of feet. In the great ball court of Chichen Itza, one of the largest ancient sporting arenas in the world, a whisper at one end can be heard at the other end, more than 500 feet away, as if traveling through a microphone and speaker system. But it gets stranger. At the Temple of the Warriors, your footsteps don't echo, they don't reflect, they disappear, absorbed, as if the temple is made of an acoustic sponge, not solid stone. Meanwhile, at the Nunnery Quadrangle, your voice seems to float, suspended in the air, neither echoing nor fading the way sound normally does. Different buildings produce different effects: amplification, filtering, cancellation, chirping, resonating, whisper projection, echo removal. Effects that modern theaters struggle to produce, even with computers and advanced materials. And yet the Maya achieved them with hand-cut stone, lime mortar, and geometric intuition. Which raises the first major question: did the Maya do this on purpose? Or did they simply stumble into a phenomenon they didn't fully understand? The archaeological establishment usually chooses the safer answer: coincidence. But the more you look at the patterns, the less coincidence makes sense. Because these acoustic effects repeat across multiple cities, multiple generations, and multiple architectural styles. They are too consistent, too meaningful, and too symbolic to be accidental. Consider the Quetzal chirp again. This isn't an echo that vaguely resembles a bird. It's the precise frequency signature of the Quetzal's call. When analyzed with spectrograms, the pyramid's chirp matches the natural bird almost exactly. The pyramid is not echoing sound, it is transforming it. Taking a clap, white noise, and filtering it into a distinct, recognizable biological call. Acoustic engineers have tried to reproduce this effect with modern materials, and the results are mixed. The pyramid uses a stair-step pattern that acts like a giant sound filter, compressing and reshaping frequencies based on the angle of the steps and the speed of the returning wave. But here's the problem: the precision required is too high for guesswork. We're not talking about a lucky block here and there. We're talking about tens of thousands of limestone blocks shaped and placed at exact angles to produce a deliberate frequency modification that encodes a sacred animal of the Maya worldview. Someone did this intentionally, and if they did it intentionally, the next question becomes, for what purpose? To answer that, we look at the Maya worldview. They believed in a layered universe, the heavens above, the earth in the middle, the underworld below. Sound was not just a natural phenomenon, it was a spiritual force, a bridge, a message carrier, a weapon. They believed gods communicated through sound, through thunder, wind, chants, and the voices of sacred animals. If a temple could reproduce the voice of a god's messenger, then the temple itself became a living communication device. The Quetzal chirp may have been a spiritual signal, a marker, a call to the gods, or a demonstration of divine power manifested through architecture. But what about the whisper chambers, the long-distance acoustics, the echo cancellation? Those effects don't serve symbolic purposes. They serve practical ones. And that is where this story begins to change shape. Some researchers, quietly, and often off the record, believe the Maya built structures that could be used for something more than rituals, something more than communication with gods, something closer to what we might call sound manipulation, or even sound control. Sound can manipulate behavior, it can intimidate, it can influence emotions, it can coordinate troops in battle, and with the right frequencies, sound can even harm. These ideas aren't fringe, they're physics. Modern militaries have used infrasound cannons, LRAD systems, and frequency weapons for decades. The Maya may have done something similar, but with stone. Imagine a ruler standing at the top of the pyramid, speaking softly, and having his voice carry across an entire city. No amplification needed. A built-in public address system carved from limestone. Or imagine ceremonies where a priest claps and the pyramid answers back with the voice of a god, terrifying or inspiring the crowds below. The acoustic power of these structures would not just command attention, it would command belief. In ancient societies, belief was power. The sound effects would reinforce the idea that the ruler had divine authority, that the temple itself was alive, that the gods were listening. But there's another layer, one that pushes us deeper into forbidden archaeology. When you analyze the geometry of Maya temples, especially the stair-step patterns and vaulted corridors, you find something unsettling. These designs match modern acoustic engineering principles supposedly discovered only in the last few centuries. One of those principles is destructive interference, when two sound waves cancel each other out. In Maya structures, some corridors are designed to eliminate echoes completely. No other ancient civilization created echo-canceling architecture on this scale. Another principle is constructive resonance, when a structure amplifies certain frequencies. Many Maya temples amplify human speech at specific pitch ranges, making voices seem deeper, fuller, and more commanding. This doesn't happen by accident. It requires a relationship between wall angles, interior volume, and material density. It's almost as if the Maya were tuning their buildings, like instruments. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all, the Great Ball Court of Chichen Itza. This massive arena is so acoustically perfect that a whisper can travel from one end to the other with almost no loss of clarity. This means two people standing hundreds of feet apart could communicate without shouting. Was this for entertainment or something else? Some researchers believe the ball court may have been used for political or military strategy meetings, a clandestine communication system hidden in plain sight. Others believe the acoustic effects were designed to amplify the drama of rituals, ceremonies, and possibly sacrifices, making the sounds of battle or death echo in haunting patterns across the stone. Then there are the jaguar growls. In some Maya sites, clapping or speaking in certain locations produces a resonant roar that sounds disturbingly like a big cat, not metaphorically, literally. These growls are not echoes, they are frequency artifacts produced by the geometry of the stone chambers. Did the Maya build sound traps to emulate the voice of the jaguar, their symbol of royal power and dominance? If so, then these temples weren't just architectural marvels. They were psychological weapons. Think about a priest or ruler performing rituals that generate supernatural roars. To an untrained audience, that would be indistinguishable from magic. But to an engineer, especially a modern one, the effect looks like deliberate acoustic engineering. Which leads to the biggest mystery: who taught them? Because here is the uncomfortable truth the academic world avoids. The Maya did not develop their acoustic architecture slowly over time. It appears suddenly, fully formed, fully functional. Their earliest major temples already contain advanced acoustic features. There is no learning curve, no evolution, no experimentation phase visible in the archaeological record. It is as if the Maya inherited the knowledge or found it. Could earlier civilizations have experimented with acoustic properties? Possibly. Could the Maya have discovered these principles themselves? Also possible. But there's a third option, one discussed quietly by some researchers, never publicly by institutions. What if the Maya gained this knowledge from contact, from travelers, from survivors, from a previous civilization lost to time, the remnants of a culture that understood sound not just as vibration but as technology? This idea becomes harder to ignore when you see the same acoustic anomalies in other ancient sites around the world. The hypogeum in Malta, with its resonance chamber that can vibrate the human body. The pyramids in Egypt, where low-frequency hums appear in the king's chamber. The stone circles in Britain, which amplify certain frequencies while canceling others. The Hindu temples in India that resonate at healing frequencies. These are not connected cultures, yet they all created frequency-based architecture, and we cannot explain how. Did the ancients know something we don't? Did they understand vibration, resonance, and frequency in ways that we lost after the fall of earlier civilizations? And did they encode this knowledge in stone, hoping someone in the future would decipher it? Scientists continue to analyze these acoustic anomalies, but the results raise more questions than answers. When laser scans and 3D models of the Maya pyramids are run through acoustic simulations, the results show precision beyond guesswork. The structures behave like engineered filters, resonators, and amplifiers. They act like speaker systems built into the stone. But here's the strangest part. Some of these acoustic effects only emerge when the courtyard around the temple is full of people. In other words, the temples were designed to interact with crowds, to create group experiences. Imagine thousands of people chanting in unison, their voices amplified and harmonized by the temple structure, creating an overwhelming sonic wave that could induce trance, fear, awe, or spiritual euphoria. Modern psychologists know that group sound experiences can alter consciousness. Chanting, drumming, repeating frequencies. The Maya built structures that could enhance these effects to a degree few ancient cultures could match. Some archaeologists believe the Maya used sound to manipulate states of mind, to induce spiritual visions, to create authority, to intimidate enemies, or perhaps even to communicate messages across vast distances during rituals. Others propose a more radical idea that some of these structures were designed not for human ears alone, that certain frequencies produced by the temples may have been detectable by animals, or even capable of influencing environmental patterns like water flow or echolocations. There are even reports, anecdotal but persistent, that in certain Maya sites, low-frequency hums can still be heard at night, sounds that seem to come from inside the stone, as if the buildings themselves are alive, still resonating, still holding memories of rituals long forgotten. If all of this is true, if the Maya built vast stone machines that manipulated sound, behavior, and belief, then the question becomes, why did this knowledge disappear? Some say it never disappeared, that the knowledge is still there, encoded in the stones, waiting for someone to decode it. Others say it was suppressed, buried by time, conquest, and cultural collapse. And some believe the real reason is far stranger, that the Maya didn't lose the knowledge. Humanity did, because sound is not just vibration, it is information, it is energy, it is control, and in the hands of those who understand it, it is power. The Maya knew this. They built monuments that sang, structures that whispered, temples that roared, and they left behind clues, not written in books, but carved into stone, clues we are only beginning to understand. The question now is simple. If an ancient civilization could engineer sound effects that modern architects struggle to replicate, what else could they do? And more importantly, what have we forgotten? And if a civilization in the distant past mastered acoustic technology, were they truly alone? Or were they following the blueprint of an even older world? Because across the planet, from the pyramids to stone circles, from underground chambers to mountain temples, the same pattern emerges. Ancient structures built with impossible precision, generating frequencies that should not exist, behaving like machines rather than monuments. It all points to one shocking possibility. That sound was once a technology, a tool, a weapon, a language of power, and the Maya may have been its last great masters. The real question is this: did we lose the knowledge, or was it taken from us? Because when you stand at the base of the pyramid, clap your hands, and hear the call of a sacred bird echoing back across 1,000 years, you're not just hearing an echo. You're hearing a memory, a message, a warning, and maybe an invitation. The lost sound weapons of the Maya aren't lost at all. They're waiting, right there in the stone, and the moment we understand them, the moment we decode the language of ancient frequency, everything we think we know about the past and the future will change. Because when you stand at the base of the pyramid, clap your hands, and hear the call of a sacred bird echoing back across 1,000 years, you're not just hearing an echo, you're hearing a memory, a message, a warning, and maybe an invitation. The lost sound weapons of the Maya aren't lost at all. They're waiting, right there in the stone, and the moment we understand them, the moment we decode the language of ancient frequency, everything we think we know about the past and the future will change.